Let's get the sports news now with Arthur. He's standing by.
Thank you very much, Jane. It seems the European Super League will not see the light of day. All 6 English Premier League clubs who are part of the breakaway league have withdrawn from the competition. This follows action by the UK government to prevent the proposed league from taking place. Manchester City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United and Tottenham have all withdrawn from the 12-team competition. There was widespread condemnation of the league since plans to form it were announced at the weekend. All right, to get some reaction, we are joined by our London correspondent, Olly Barratt. A very good morning from South Africa. Olly, great to have you on the show. The Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, had promised that he'll give full support to the FA, of course, if all 6 clubs were going to remain with their stance in joining the Super League. Your opening remarks to what's been happening in London.
Yeah, Boris Johnson and his government said they would consider all options to try and stop this ESL taking place as it had been proposed. At the same time, the government said what it would do first would be allow the football authorities to put in place whatever measures they felt they had to here in England to stop the ESL going ahead, but that he wouldn't rule out even taking legislation to make sure that the ESL couldn't happen. Other things that the government were considering were things like extending visas to these clubs that were involved for foreign signings. So that would have made it very, very difficult, for example, if Manchester United weren't able to sign foreign players because the government wouldn't give them visas. It was really looking at ways of making life so difficult that being in the European Super League just became untenable. Now, when it came down to it, actually, these English clubs started pulling out before the government had to do anything at all, but Boris Johnson, I'm sure, will want to take some of the credit and will say that the threats that the government had in place and the fact that it said it would do whatever it would take to stop this happening certainly played a part in all of this.
Well, football has a lot of politics and challenges across the world, and in particular there are underlying issues that I believe the Big 6 in England have faced. To name just a few of those challenges, things like TV broadcast rights and, of course, getting a bigger piece of the prize money, I'd like to believe is what sparked the possible European Super League starting. I mean, you know, just to win the Champions League is something close to 82 million euros, and if the European Super League would still take place, the winner of that competition would get 4 times that value. Your thoughts on that?
4 times that value according to the projections, yes. Now, this is an issue that isn't going to go away, this broader issue of some of the bigger clubs in England feeling that they should have a slightly bigger slice of the pie, that they are the clubs that people want to watch. But certainly here in England, fans have said a few things about that. They've said, look, this is short-sighted. Maybe you're joining this hugely lucrative league now, but if it starts to destroy football, destroy the levels of interest in football because people are bored of watching this closed-shop competition, then over the long term, then perhaps your financial projections aren't going to work out. And certainly here in England as well, many supporters have said, look, what's so exciting about the Premier League and the Champions League is that anyone theoretically can win them, can get to the final stages, and anyone can not qualify for the Champions League one year or can be relegated from the Premier League. It was that jeopardy that many fans felt wasn't in these new proposals. That said, as you say, the broader issue is not going to go away. The big clubs do feel that they need more control over, for example, their own image rights. And the European Super League, we should say, does not appear to have accepted defeat just yet. It says it's going to look at the most appropriate steps to try and reshape the project. But if the European Super League were to come back in some other form, I think the last 48 hours or so here in England have shown just how strong the opposition is to it. It would be very, very hard indeed for these 6 English clubs, having pulled out in such a humiliating way now, to tiptoe back into some other iteration of the project.
Well, Olly, the other 14 clubs were left in the dark, especially when the Big 6 made that decision. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But this also sparked Manchester United boss possibly, resigning at the end of this year. Just your thinking behind this. Did the forming of the new European Super League prompt him to take this action, and why?
It does appear to have accelerated the process, let's say. Manchester United are clear that Ed Woodward was leaving anyway, but the fact that that statement was put out right in the middle of all of this, with the clubs preparing to pull out of this competition, will clearly give rise to greater speculation that Ed Woodward has gone because of the failure in getting this project over the line in some way, perhaps a falling out between Ed Woodward and the ownership structure at Manchester United. In terms of where we go from here, as you say, the 14 Premier League clubs not invited are absolutely, let's be clear about this, furious with the other 6 Premier League clubs, with whom they've been having meeting after meeting after meeting and being told nothing of these plans until they were announced on Sunday. So there's real anger within the Premier League. One of the key issues we do need to keep an eye on now is whether there are going to be any sanctions. Yes, the European Super League appears to be dead on arrival, certainly with regard to English clubs' involvement, but will the Premier League fine these clubs in some way for what they've done? Dock points from next season for what they've done? Other kinds of sanctions in place, and what impact will those sanctions have? It very much remains to be seen where that side of things is headed.
Thank you very much, Olly Barratt, our UK correspondent, giving us a better understanding on what's been happening in London after the Big Six, of course, pulled out of the European Super League. Back to you, Jane.
Thanks a lot for that, Arthur. Still to come, promoting